National news all the time. This is 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM, New York.
Good afternoon, 46 degrees now, under fair skies at 5 o'clock. I'm Larry Mullins, and here's what's happening. Mayor Mamdani throwing his budget out there today and already bracing for what could come as he pushes Governor Hochul to greenlight a 2% tax on people making seven figures plus to help close the budget gap. Also today, you heard the news, which all of us woke up to this morning. Jesse Jackson gone in.
Jesse Jackson changed American politics.
Reverend Al speaking about him up in Harlem today. The man who allegedly posed as an FBI agent tried to sneak accused Midtown shooter Luigi Mangione out of jail is now being held in the same building. This after authorities say his attempt royally failed. A pizza cutter didn't cut it, apparently. A lawsuit now against the Trump administration over its efforts to take down the flag at Stonewall. A group of nonprofits suing now, saying it's the government breaking the law, not us. And grab your bald cap, head for Hyde Park this summer. Pitbull trying to get enough people together wearing baldies to set a Guinness Book record. Details coming up. Wednesday news time 5:01, cloudy with a low of 38 is the word. And from your Mercedes-Benz of Edison.com traffic center now, let's get you where you need to go. And here is Andre Farrow.
No dice on Long Island on the southbound Meadowbrook. It's terrible heading down towards Hempstead Turnpike with a crash before you get to the Southern State Parkway. So go with the Wantagh instead. Here's what we see on Long Island's Big Three. East and west delays on the southern by the Seaford Oyster Bay. East and west over by 106, 107. And Hicksville is slow on the LIE. There are westbound delays as well. Lakeville Road to the Queens border. And the southbound Saginaw Coast in Suffolk County. There is a crash knocking out one lane. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. Well over an hour at the outbound George Washington Bridge with the cross Bronx delays from White Plains Road. But the northbound Deegan, southbound Deegan, all the approaches are terrible. I mean, the northbound FDR from 79th Street up to the cross Bronx is just bumper to bumper to bumper. The West Side Highway, West 96th Street up to the cross Bronx is slow. Hop on Riverside Drive or Broadway and do yourself a favor. The outbound Lincoln and Holland are just around 20 minutes. Not terrible. Both inbound are over 25 minutes. Brooklyn Bridge, Brooklyn bound, lots of volume there. And you have a southbound delay on the FDR heading towards the Brooklyn Bridge onto the ramps to head towards Brooklyn. The westbound side of the Kosciuszko slow, passing the Williamsburg, the split by 32A, and heading towards Flushing Avenue. Belt Parkway delays east and west if you're heading east by Bay 8th, and then it's going to continue to be slow from Flatbush Avenue to Cross Bay Boulevard. Andre Farrow, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
Downtown, Mayor Mamdani says the previous administration left him with a beast of a budget crisis, but he says, I remain hopeful. Marla Diamond tonight with how hopeful he is, hoping that Governor Hochul will sign off on a tax increase, that is.
Despite Governor Hochul's opposition, the mayor said a 2% tax on the wealthy is the best option to balance the budget.
If we cannot follow this first path, we will be forced onto a much more damaging path of last resort, one where we have to use the only tools at the city's disposal, raising property taxes and raiding our reserves.
A 9.5% property tax hike proposal is already getting pushback from the city council.
This is the beginning of both the city and the state budget process.
The mayor said he is also looking for cost savings, sparing no city agency. Marla Diamond, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM at City Hall.
Yep, the dance begins, everybody. Get ready. Budget, it's always fun. The other big story, of course, pioneering civil rights leader Reverend Jesse Jackson passed away today at age 84. His oldest daughter, Santita, says her father had a rare neurological disorder, passed away at his home in Chicago, surrounded by family. He was a protege of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., where he embraced the ideology of promoting peace and equality, calling for people to stand on principles, especially in the business space. He stopped by 1010 Wins to visit with our City Views program back in 2018.
Freedom and not equality. We're free. You're free to be off the board, but not equal unless you get on the board in the C-suites and get your share of professional services.
You can watch that interview in its entirety. It's at 1010wins.com/cityviews with Sharon Barnes Waters. Meantime, the tributes pouring in, including this morning up in Harlem with Reverend Al talking about the man who once aspired to be president.
The Reverend Al Sharpton got an early morning call.
So it has been a very sad day, even though we knew he was very ill. When the moment comes, you're not prepared for it.
Sharpton was 12 years old when he first met Jesse Jackson, followed his path, lessons learned from Martin Luther King Jr.
He literally changed American politics, New York politics, and kept the civil rights movement going, and then raised some of us that have been in the forefront.
He says now more than ever, the fight involves civil rights, economic rights, voting rights. Juliet Papa, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
Yeah, Al says he literally changed. Mayor Mamdani called him a giant in the civil rights movement. Jesse Jackson finishing the race at 84. Had a shooting in Ridgewood, Queens today that's left one woman hospitalized with a gunshot wound to the leg. This happened about 3 o'clock. Police say she was shot in front of 1089 Wyckoff Avenue. No particulars on who shot her or what led to the shooting. They rushed her off to Brookville, where she's in stable condition tonight. An investigation is underway. So far, no word of any arrests. That Minnesota guy accused of impersonating an FBI agent in an alleged attempt to free Luigi from jail is officially indicted by a federal grand jury today.
The same detention center that he tried to break Luigi Mangione out of is where Mark Anderson will continue being held. He's pleaded not guilty before a federal judge, but prosecutors asking that he stay detained in MDC, saying he has a criminal history and says he's been charged with a serious crime. He even was carrying weapons on him, such as a pizza cutter and a barbecue fork, when he showed up at MDC trying to convince officers to free Luigi Mangione. The defense says they will submit a bail application at a future date, but the judge siding with the prosecution, saying he will stay detained. Anderson is due back in court Friday at 11:30. Mary Lynn Buckley, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM at Brooklyn Federal Court.
A lawsuit now against the Trump administration over the controversy sparked when parks workers removed a pride flag from the site of the Stonewall Memorial. That lawsuit filed on behalf of a group of non-profs arguing the administration ran afoul of the law that allows national monuments to fly flags providing historical context. They put the flag back up on Thursday of last week. We were there for that. We haven't heard anything else out of the White House about it. When asked about it earlier, the Park Service referred to a federal memo, which was issued on January 21st, which says, with some exceptions, only the U.S. flag and others authorized by Congress can be flown on flagpoles managed by the Park Service. The LGBTQ plus community says, yeah, the Biden administration had already given a special exception for that flag, so what are we talking about? On Long Island, they've charged the Lawrence man with allegedly trying to kill his own sister since Christmas. Police say in this latest attempt, he used a crossbow on Friday night. They say he barely missed shooting her right in the face.
Nassau County DA Ann Donnelly says this crossbow attack that nearly took a Lawrence woman's life stems from the temperature in the house.
She liked to keep it cooler. He wanted it warmer. He decided that he didn't want to live like that anymore.
21-year-old suspect Sammy Sedum is accused of buying the crossbow on Amazon and planning for nearly 2 months to kill his 28-year-old sister when she got home.
She has a very serious, deep laceration, actually split her ear in half and then across her face.
Sedum allegedly admitted to the crime. Sophia Hall, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM on Long Island.
Yeah, dude might have a little problem if he's convicted and sent off to jail, where I hear it gets really cold sometimes in the cells and the inmates don't get to control that thermostat. AccuWeather says tonight partly cloudy early on, then becoming cloudy again with areas of fog developing overnight, a low of 38 degrees. It looked like London this morning when we woke up, right? Fog everywhere. Tomorrow, some fog around early again, cloudy with periods of rain and drizzle, a high of 45, and then tomorrow night a couple of evening showers. Otherwise, mostly cloudy with a low of 38. Right now, hanging on to 46 degrees with haze in Central Park. Had that fiery explosion that ripped through a church in upstate today. It just injured 5 people, including the pastor of the church, as well as firefighters who responded to a report of a gas odor in the building there. Police are investigating. It sent thick plumes of black smoke into the air about 10:30 this morning. It happened at the Abundant Life Church in Bouville. That's about 50 miles north of Syracuse. The church was reportedly heated by propane cylinders, so you know they're checking to see if those cylinders had anything to do with the explosion. 4 people were in the basement of the church when the furnace turned on, triggering that explosion. A firefighter was on the first floor trying to ventilate the building, because they got there earlier dealing with the fumes that people called about. Well, he was thrown against the wall by that blast. Again, the injuries are not considered life-threatening. He was the star of an Animal Planet docu-series on lowland gorillas. Well, a western lowland gorilla has died at the Bronx Zoo, and they're mourning his loss tonight. We'll tell you about it here in just a moment. But first, Wednesday News Time 511 from your Mercedes-Benz of Edison.com traffic center now. Getting you where you need to go tonight is Andre Farrow.
And it's Pick Your Poison hour in Queens, Larry. If you're traveling southbound Cross Island, Bell Boulevard area, looks like they're holding traffic there with a crash. Not a good spot for an accident. Not that there's ever really a good spot, but that's not a good one. southbound on the Clearview, that's picking up the extra volume. So that's why you're going to have to pick between which pain you like worse. Now, the southbound Cross Island is still slow over by the UBS Arena as well. In Nassau County, that crash on the southbound Meadowbrook has been brutal. You have a tough go of it passing Hempstead Turnpike. Go with the Wantagh if you're trying to get down to the southern state. Here's what we see on Long Island's Big Three. You actually have westbound delays on the LIE from Lakeville Road to the Queens border. The eastbound Northern State Parkway is slow, heading towards that area of the Wantagh, and the Southern State Parkway has delays right around the Seaford Oyster Bay round trip. There's some westbound action there as well. Outbound at the George Washington Bridge from the Cross Bronx, here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. I mean, you have delays that go back to the Bruckner interchange. It's well over an hour. On the northbound Deegan, no relief in sight there from the Bruckner split, heading up to Yankee Stadium. Southbound Deegan coming down from Van Cortlandt Park is slow. Southbound West Side Highway is going to be slow heading down towards the Cross Bronx, passing Capoc as you make your way onto the Henry Hudson Parkway there. But the northbound side from 96th Street up to the George Washington Bridge is swamped. Go with the Broadway ride or maybe Riverside Drive for an exit or two. Outbound Lincoln and Holland are around 20. Andre Ferro, 10-10 wins on 92.3 FM.
And now your AccuWeather 4-day forecast. Meteorologist Brian Thompson now in the Weather Center with this live report.
Well, it's turned out to be a pretty nice afternoon, Larry. We've had a good deal of sunshine. Starting to see a few high clouds drifting back in, and clouds are going to be back on the increase as we head into tonight. In fact, it will become cloudy into the overnight hours. Will be some areas of fog developing, too. And there is a dense fog advisory in effect from 10 o'clock this evening through 10 a.m. tomorrow. So a low of 38 tonight. Still some fog around early tomorrow. A pretty cloudy day with periods of rain and drizzle. Tomorrow's high around 45. So temperature's not that far off where we've gotten to today. But still, with it feeling much more damp tomorrow, I don't think it'll feel as nice as it has this afternoon. Still a couple of showers tomorrow evening, otherwise a mostly cloudy sky, low 38. Clouds will still tend to limit sun on Thursday with a high of 42, ahead of another round of some rain that moves in for late Thursday night and Friday. Might be a little bit of ice at the onset north and west of the city. Friday's high 42. Mostly sunny and 46 right now. Midtown, we're going down to 38. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Brian Thompson on New York's weather station. 10-10 wins on 92.3 FM.
The Bronx Zoo reporting some sad news tonight. The gorilla known as Nintendo has died. He was 32. Nintendo was featured in a recent docuseries which included Western lowland gorillas. He died on Sunday. Jessica Moody is in charge of primates at the Bronx Zoo, says Nintendo was very resilient, despite the fact that he suffered from glaucoma, which eventually left him blind.
He was one of those animals that just had a real impact on everyone who worked with him because it's a unique situation. You know, he's a blind silverback. They maintain a really important role in managing a troop. And so I think we were all just so amazed to see how he got through that.
Yeah, she says he never lost his status with the group. He was a bad dude. Preliminary necropsy findings indicated Nintendo died of an acute cardiac attack. He became popular to TV audiences and zoo visitors alike through Animal Planet series, The Zoo. Boy, this next one's going to have you wondering, why can't something like this happen to me? I've been using my same lottery numbers for years and it never hits. Took this guy 22 years, but finally a fella in Ohio says his number finally came up, paid off. Dude won $3.5 million. Yes, he did. Playing a set of numbers on Lotto, which he says he's been using for more than 2 decades. The winning numbers, 6, 8, 16, 20, 26, and 45. Says he won smaller prizes before, but those numbers came up golden in the February 4th drawing, purchased at a Mapsco store in Akron. The winner said he almost immediately recognized the numbers and has already made big plans for that money, including a new house with a home gym. Says, yeah, we're going to get a really big pool. Good for him. Overseas in London at Hyde Park, they're going bald. I know you want me. You know the BST Hyde Park Pitbull Show, attempting to break a Guinness Book record for the most people wearing bald caps. They'll do it on July the 10th. The singer will be one of the artists heading the 2026 edition of the London Summer Series. News of the gig was announced back in October. He's bringing Kesha out there with him and a few others soon to be announced. So the organizers have revealed the event will host an official Guinness Book title attempt looking to earn the title of the largest gathering of people wearing bald caps. A Delaware man who was once married to former First Lady Jill Biden pleads not guilty in his wife's death. 77-year-old William Stevenson, married to Dr. Jill Biden from 1970 to 75. Well, last month, State grand jury charged him with killing Linda Stevenson, who was found unresponsive at their home in Wilmington back in December. He has remained in custody since being charged on February 3rd, says he can't afford the $2 million bail, so he's charged with murder in that. Stevenson appeared at a hearing today via remote. His public defender couldn't be reached for comment. He'll be back in court on March the 16th. Welcome to the Lunar New Year, everybody, and it also marks the transition from one animal to another.
Goodbye, Year of the Snake. Welcome in the horse. The Lunar New Year starts today and lasts until March 3rd, the date of the next full moon. China marked the start with prayers, performances, and festivities in the capital. The fire horse symbolizes energy, freedom, and forward momentum. The horse is also synonymous with strength, grace, and determination.
Stacey Lynn reporting for us. Happy New Year, everybody. And the Guthrie search in Arizona continues. The sheriff says the DNA submitted to the FBI didn't come back with any matches. They found DNA on a black glove, you'll recall, discovered near Nancy Guthrie's house that appeared to match the one worn by a person captured on a doorbell video, but they are back to square one. Meantime, they're checking with local retailers, including Walmart, to see if they can figure out who bought similar clothing to the clothing seen on that video. We've got your headlines coming up next. One city, one news station. 1010 wins.
All news, all the time. This is 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world.
We'll put 46 on it at 5:20. I'm Larry Mullins, and here's what's happening tonight. Mayor Mamdani rattling off his prelim budget, which could take some doing to get it over the finish line. That's because it requires a tax hike on the wealthiest New Yorkers to make it happen. And Governor Hochul doesn't seem to be all that keen on doing that. Not in an election year. 3 people recovering this hour after being hit by a car up in West Harlem. Cops say the vehicle plowed into them and then into some scaffolding. We'll tell you what we know about it. Hundreds of cops in Nassau expected to leave the force in early March, part of a county-wide retirement incentive. But who's going to replace all these folk? The police commissioner says, we got this. We got people waiting in the wings. From Rhode Island, police now say the guy who opened fire at an ice rink at a youth game yesterday, killing his wife and one of his sons. 3 other people were injured. Stay tuned for the latest on that. And in 1010 Wins Entertainment, an announcement that the Hannah Montana 20th anniversary special is coming to Disney+. AccuWeather says cloudy skies tonight will dip down to a low of 38 degrees on this Tuesday. Wins News Time 521 from your Mercedes-Benz of Edison.com traffic center now. Andre Farrow.
Now, if you were using the southbound Cross Island, you're doing better passing Bella Boulevard in Queens heading down towards the Cross Island, but then you get slow, or down towards the LIE, then it gets slow again heading down towards the UBS Arena. So as you make your way down towards Hempstead Turnpike, there is volume there, but if you're already committed to the Clearview and went there instead, yeah, that's bumper to bumper, unfortunately, heading down towards Northern Boulevard as well. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. Well, the inbound George Washington Bridge has improved vastly. It's about 10 minutes, but it gets slow again once you get to the Cross Bronx. Outbound is going to run you well over an hour with the Cross Bronx, but if you're using the West Side Highway, it's going to be slow from West 96th Street up to the Cross Bronx, FDR from 79th Street up to the Triborough, and that's where the Harlem River Drive takes over, and it's bumper to bumper all the way up to the Cross Bronx. The same deal with the Deegan over by the 3rd Avenue Bridge and up to Yankee Stadium. Southbound Deegan is slow heading towards the Cross Bronx as well. 25 minutes round trip at the Lincoln. The outbound Holland's going to cost you around 20. Inbound's around 15. Westbound Staten Island Expressway is slow by Victory Boulevard. If you're heading down towards 287 in New Jersey in the Baskin Ridge area in Bedminster, there's emergency road work slowing you down heading down towards 78. So you're going to need some extra time there. Andre Farrow, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
Downtown, I guess they could hold a raffle, but Mayor Mamdani said that won't cut it. He released his first preliminary budget for the Big Apple today, and with it comes a renewed push for the wealthiest New Yorkers to ante up. That is, help close the budget gap with the new tax. He's hoping Governor Hochul will get behind it, but that might be kind of tough in an election year. Here's Marla Diamond tonight.
Mayor Mamdani said a property tax hike of 9.5% would be a last resort to balance the budget.
The first path repairs the structural imbalance between the city and the state. We want to work with Albany to raise personal income taxes by 2% on the 33,000 New Yorkers earning more than $1 million a year.
A challenge to the governor, who in an election year has said she won't raise taxes.
I'm also very clear-eyed about the fact that we need to put the city back on firm financial footing.
The ultimatum comes a day after Hochul announced she would bail the city out with an additional $1.5 billion. Marla Diamond, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM at City Hall.
Specifically, he says if we don't do something soon, we might have to start talking about a 9.5% property tax hike on everybody. And also talk about raiding, as she mentioned, $1 billion from the so-called rainy day reserve to make ends meet, that is, for the current fiscal year alone. 3 people recovering at the hospital tonight after they were hit by a car in Upper Manhattan. Police say this happened just before 3 near West 131st Street in Amsterdam and West Harlem. It's unclear for now what led up to that crash, but cops say all 3 pedestrians are expected to be okay. That car then careened into some scaffolding up there. No word yet on any arrests. 2 men behind bars connected to a 2021 deadly shooting of a customer in an alleged weed transaction. Mary Lynn Buckley following that investigation.
2 Brooklyn men are facing federal charges linked to stalking and murdering a man. Prosecutors say this was a drug deal debt dispute. Authorities allege that Rafael Hernandez and Joybel Perez were running a weed distribution business. One of their customers, Akil Cornegue, allegedly owed them money. And when he didn't pay up, the men tracked him down and opened fire as he was sitting in his car. They're now facing federal murder charges, which could mean life in prison if they're convicted. Mary Lynn Buckley, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM, downtown Brooklyn.
And a new study says people driving fancy whips and most likely with deep pockets are lead foot.
The more reckless the driver, the fancier the car. 52% of the top 100 super speeders are driving luxury vehicles compared to just 25% of New York City drivers overall.
That's Charlie Baker with Transportation Alternatives. Says here super speeders drive luxury cars and racked up millions in speeding tickets, not individually, of course. Combined, it says they racked up more than $10 million in speed camera tickets. It says 8 out of 10 have paid $1,000 or more in fines, fees, and penalties, with the average being about $5,000, more than 3 times the cost of operating an ISA device. That's Intelligent Speed Assistance Device. And the driver with the most tickets paid off by a super speeder, $70,000, driving a luxury BMW X5. And now Bloomberg Money Watch.
People are buying fewer boxes of Cheerios cereal, Nature Valley Snacks, Pillsbury Cake Mix, and other packaged foods from General Mills. Today, the company says lower and middle-income customers have scaled back spending amid economic uncertainty and cuts to food aid benefits. In response, General Mills has cut prices across several product categories, but it still predicts earnings to be down 20% this year. Shares fell 7%. Like the best time on the bobsled, Wall Street wins, but by a narrow margin. Dow and NASDAQ each rise 32 today, S&P up 7. I'm Andrew O'Day, Bloomberg Money Watch on 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM.
Island Harvest turns surplus food into millions of meals for Long Islanders in need. Join the fight against hunger at islandharvest.org. Wins News Time, 5:30.
Good afternoon. I'm Wayne Cabot. Delta Airlines is apologizing to a Yonkers woman whose wheelchair broke on a flight. Her wheelchair is her identity. She was named Miss Wheelchair America last year. Getting a new wheelchair should be easy, but it's not.
Her wheelchair is her legs, and without it, Latavia Sturdivant, the reigning Miss Wheelchair America, is homebound.
This is consequences from someone else that I have to bear the repercussions from.
The biggest problem has been damage to the wheelchair's motor.
This chair stops on me at a moment's notice. So there's an anxiety that you live with, like, is it going to work today?
Delta is willing to pay to have it repaired, but it's proven to be a difficult process.
Delta needs to do better in taking proper care of our wheelchairs and proper compensation from when these things do happen, because my life is put on hold.
Mac Rosenberg, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
Delta says the customer was offered loaner options but declined, indicating the options would not meet their needs. Wins News Time 5:31. Let's get you where you need to go this afternoon. And here's Andre Farrell.
Trouble in Queens on the westbound side of the Grand Central Parkway, Wayne. If you're traveling over by Parsons Boulevard, we have an accident in the right lane. Southbound Clearview and the southbound Cross Island remains very slow, heading down towards Northern Boulevard in Queens, and the northbound Whitestone Expressway bumper to bumper coming up from Citi Field. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. Outbound George Washington Bridge remains a 50-minute delay from the Cross Bronx. Whitestone Bridge is slow Queensbound, by the way, and the Scarborough is as well. It's going to be slow heading towards Steinway Street across the span. The northbound FDR, busy from 79th Street all the way up to the Harlem River Drive and up towards the Cross Bronx. And the West Side Highway, same deal. West 79th Street up to the Cross Bronx is slow. It gets a little bit better, though, once you get a little further north up towards the Cross Bronx area. You get a little break in the action, but I would still go with Riverside Drive maybe or Broadway to skate around that. Outbound Lincoln and outbound Holland are going to run you at least 25 minutes, about the same both inbound. Traveling in New Jersey, look out for delays on the southbound side of 287. That is construction, emergency construction, as you make your way southbound, heading down towards 78 over in Bernards. Right, Wayne? Right.
Bernard, well
there you
done.
Go. I could have went with Baskin Ridge, so, but I went with Bernards. Okay. Andre Ferro, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM.
Yeah, there was no Bernard, as far as we know. Well, from Bernards to the Bronx, an abundance of sunshine today. This wasn't a bad day at all, was it? Let's get the 1010 Winds AccuWeather forecast now from meteorologist Brian Thompson.
Yeah, it was a cloudy start, Wayne, but it really brightened up this afternoon. We saw the sky turn out mostly sunny. It's still mostly clear at this hour, but some clouds starting to roll in, and we will see increasing clouds throughout the night. Eventually, some fog is going to develop, too, into the overnight hours. A dense fog advisory in effect from 10 o'clock this evening through 10 a.m. tomorrow. So a low of 38 tonight. We'll have some fog around early tomorrow. And then it's going to be a cloudy day. We'll have periods of rain and drizzle throughout the day. Most of the rain will be on the lighter side, as a lot of the steadier precipitation is going to end up being off to our north. But again, kind of a damp day tomorrow, high 45. A couple of evening showers tomorrow night, otherwise mostly cloudy, low 38. Still a fair amount of clouds Thursday, high 42. It looks like another round of rain late Thursday night into Friday. Maybe even a little bit of ice at the onset north and west of the city. Friday's high about 42. Mostly clear and 46 right now in Midtown, are going down to 38. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Brian Thompson on New York's weather station, 1010 Winds on 92.3 FM.
Brian, thanks. Taking the money and running. Nassau County Police. A lot of people are leaving for early retirement.
The 245 Nassau County Police members were given a special incentive to take early retirement, an extra $2,000 per year of service. Police Commissioner Patrick Ryder says they are losing many upper management members.
Without a doubt, it's a cost-saving measure. That's why it was done.
There will be history-making promotions within the department.
Beauty of what we call minimum staffing is there's 177 cars out there every day. Tomorrow, no matter what happens, there'll be 177 cars.
Civilians will also be retiring early. Sophia Hall, 1010 Winds on 92.3 FM on Long Island.
We are just now getting a little more insight into what happened this time yesterday at a high school hockey rink in Rhode Island. Pawtucket police say the person who opened fire and killed two people killed their ex-wife and one son. The shooter injured the ex-wife's parents and a family friend and then died from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. Police identified the shooter as Robert Dorgan, a 56-year-old who also went by the name Roberta Esposito and used the women's bathroom, according to a co-worker. Another co-worker said Dorgan appeared to be split on the issue of transgender acceptance, one second being proud of transitioning and the next embarrassed by it. Dorgan briefly served in the Marine Corps. How it ended is unclear. Back to work with no paycheck for many at the TSA and the Coast Guard and FEMA, who are again suffering through a shutdown of their agency. And it's all about those ICE raids at the hands of federal officers in black masks without IDs or warrants.
Democrats want big changes in immigration operations after federal officers killed two American citizens in Minneapolis. But the administration is rejecting demands that officers clearly identify themselves and take off masks. The shutdown is narrowly targeted to DHS's umbrella of agencies, including the TSA and FEMA. ICE and Customs and Border Protection work is mostly unaffected because of last year's law that gave them billions in funding. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
From the art galleries of Soho to the jazz clubs of Harlem, we are New York's all news station.
The News Watch never stops. This is 1010 Winds on 92.3 FM. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world.
Good afternoon, 46 degrees at 5:40. I'm Wayne Cabot, and here's what's happening. Either raise taxes on the rich or raise property taxes for everyone. Mayor Mamdani's answer to his first financial crisis as mayor. Jesse Jackson's inspirational words, I am somebody, reflect his own tough childhood and how far he came. A tribute next from his most famous student. Long Island prosecutors say that a long simmering fight over how hot to keep the thermometer is what led a man to attack his sister.
He decided he was going to shoot his crossbow and try to kill her.
Low visibility and blowing dirt leads to a 30-vehicle pileup today with 4 dead in Colorado. The boss is back. Bruce announcing today a tour coming up this spring. AccuWeather on this break from the intense cold and when an icy precipitation mix may move in. Straight ahead. Winds news time. 4:41. Make that 5:41 in the Eastern time zone. Let's get you where you need to go with Andre Farrell.
Let's go near Yankee Stadium on the northbound Deegan, heading up towards that exit 7 ramp to bring you onto the Cross Bronx. That's where 2 trucks hit each other, and that's why you have this delay that goes all the way back to the Bruckner split, heading all the way back to the 3rd Avenue Bridge. So not good in front of Yankee Stadium. West Side Highway slow, 79th Street up to the Cross Bronx, but that's better than dealing with the Harlem River Drive delays as well. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. 50 minutes outbound at the George Washington Bridge. You do have delays at the Whitestone Bridge, Queensbound. The Throgs Neck would be better, and then you get to pick between the Cross Island and Clearview, and that's never fun. I would actually go with the Clearview. The Triborough is slow, Astoria bound, and then you have that crash westbound Grand Central by Parsons Boulevard that's going to slow you down. At least 20 minutes out at the Lincoln and Holland. Both inbound are around the same. Dealing with delays on the westbound side of the Staten Island Expressway by Victory Boulevard. Here's what we see on Long Island's Big 3. Mostly eastbound delays on the southern Eagle Avenue to the Seaford Oyster Bay. Southbound Meadowbrook remains slow, heading down towards Old Country Road from an earlier crash. The westbound Northern busy by New Hyde Park Road. Westbound LIE slow by Glen Cove Road, again by Lakeville Road. Andre Ferro, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM.
Mayor Mamdani sure facing a crisis. His biggest one as mayor so far. It's about how much money the city is in the hole. We're talking about $5+ billion. And his answer is to have the rich pay more, or have everybody else pay higher property taxes, or raid the rainy day fund, options he does not like.
Mayor Mamdani offering 2 paths to close the budget gap. The first, a 2% tax on the wealthiest individuals and corporations. The second, a 9.5% property tax increase.
This would effectively be a tax on working and middle-class New Yorkers who have a median income of $122,000. The second path also requires us to raid our reserves.
It was a direct challenge to Governor Hochul.
We need to put the city back on firm financial footing.
Mamdani has also appointed agency-wide chief savings officers, essentially tasked with looking under the couch cushion for extra revenue. Marla Diamond, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM at City Hall.
We have reached out to Governor Hochul's office for a response on Mayor Mamdani's plea. Now to politicians of a different era, when historians write the legacy of Jesse Jackson, who began as a community organizer before his life in politics and died today at 84. When his legacy is written, they'll talk about him being the young man in Chicago raising up the disenfranchised of all colors and incomes. I Am Somebody was his poem, and his life. He rose from obscurity in the segregated South to become America's best-known civil rights activist since Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Reverend Al Sharpton says his mentor taught him that protest must have purpose, that faith must have feet.
The Reverend Al Sharpton says Jesse Jackson changed American politics.
He was a consequential and transformative figure, and he changed New York politics.
Sharpton says after Jackson ran for president in 1988, New York City elected David Dinkins in 89. He promoted nonviolent, proactive protest. Sharpton says there will be detractors.
But Reverend Jackson had a saying that he used to tell me that became something I lived by. He said, turn your scars into stars.
And wear them as a badge of honor. Juliet Papa, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM.
A boy lost his footing while climbing the Queensboro Bridge last night.
If you were climbing Mount Everest, a member of the FDNY would be a good